Today we are going to be talking about writing equations of lines, and when we write equations of lines, there's sort of three different formats that you can think of. So those are sort of the three foldables that you have on your paper. So the first option that we can look at is that we can write the equation of the line if we are given a slope, or we can find. So it either has to be presented directly to us or we can find a slope and a y-intercept. And if we are in the case that we are given or we can find a slope and a y-intercept, we should then use the equation y equals mx plus b. So for example, let's say we want to write the equation of a line with a slope of 4 and a y-intercept of 7, right? This is directly telling us that the slope is 4. Remember, we represent slope with the letter m, so we know that m is 4. And our y-intercept is 7. We know that b equals 7. Okay, so we have an m of 4 and we have a b of 7. So we can then plug this into y equals mx plus b format. We're given a slope and a y-intercept, so we can plug this in, and instead of saying y equals mx, we'll say y equals 4x plus our b value, which is 7. So the equation of our line will be y equals 4x plus 7. Now, it's not always written out in words. Sometimes it'll just be write the equation of the line given the following information. Right, same idea. We are given m and we are given b, so we can plug this into slope-intercept form. So we will say y equals, where our m value is -3/7, x plus our b value, which is 5. Now, sometimes it's not directly given to us, and sometimes we have to get that information from a graph or from other info that we are told. So for example, we don't see what m and b equal here, but we know how to find m and b, right? To find b, we are looking for our y-intercept. And our y-intercept here is 2. So we know that b equals 2. Okay, we also know that we can find our slope. We find our slope with 2 good points. Okay, so our rise is down 1, so that's a -1, and our run is 1, 2, 3. So down 1, right 3, or -1/3. So now it looks just like the information we had over here. We can plug this into slope-intercept form, and we can say y equals -1/3 x plus 2. Okay, a second option is that we can write the equation of a line if we are given or we can find a point and a slope. Okay, if we're given a point and a slope, it then makes sense that we would use point-slope form, right? A point and a slope are with point-slope form. Okay, so maybe it says write the equation of a line with a slope of 4 that passes through the point -3, 8. So this one is a little bit more just because there's more things to plug in. But remember, right, we're plugging into point-slope form, so if y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1, where we know that slope is the letter m, and that our ordered pair is going to be the x sub 1 comma y sub 1. So we're plugging that in for the actual sub 1 values, not for the y that's just by itself. So we're just going to start plugging in. So we'll say y minus our y sub 1 is now 8. Equals m, which is 4, times x minus our x sub 1, which is -3. And while this is an appropriate way to write it, the only thing that we might clean up is that 2 negatives make a positive, and so we'd say y minus 8 equals 4 times x plus 3. Again, whether it's written out in words or whether it is just straightforward provided to us, this is the same idea. So we are plugging into that point-slope form. So we're going to say y minus our y coordinate, which is -4, equals m, which is 2/5, times x minus our x coordinate, which is 7. Okay, so again, 2 negatives make a positive. So over here, we could clean this up and say y plus 4 equals 2/5 times x minus 7. But sometimes that information isn't always as straightforward provided to us. So like if we have this graph, right, we can't do what we did before and just find m and b because we don't see what the y-intercept is. But we can find a point, right? We have a point here. So we need to make sure we name that correctly. That's the point -2, +1. We then need a second point to be able to find the slope. Okay, so if I count my slope, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and over 1. So I know that m equals 3 over 1, or 3. And my point is negative 2 comma 1. So I can say y minus 1 equals negative 2 times x minus negative 2. Again, those two negatives turn into a positive. The last way that we can talk about writing the equation of a line is if we are given undefined slope. Right, a slope of 0 we can just plug in. A slope of undefined, I can't write down the number undefined. It's not a number. So if that's the case, we're going to write x equals and then whatever the x value equals for that given problem. So for example, if we were asked to write the equation of a line with a slope of undefined and an x-intercept of negative 9, right? We instantly know that it's undefined slope, which means we are instantly going to write down x equals. What does it tell us x equals in this problem? Negative 9. So our equation is just x equals negative 9. That is a vertical line. Undefined slope is always a vertical line. Okay, on our second one, we are told that m is undefined. So we're automatically writing down x equals. But now we are given a point. So we have to decide which one of those values is representing the x value, right? An ordered pair is always x comma y. So our x value would be negative 4. We would get x equals negative 4. That 11 doesn't tell us anything about the equation of the line. It just tells us a point that would fall on the line if we were to graph it. Okay, then finally over here again, sorry, our photocopies are never perfect and we already have extra lines streaking through it, but if that is the line we are wanting to write the equation of, as soon as we look at this and we know that it's a vertical line, we know that that's undefined slope. That's something we've been practicing across multiple units, which means we're writing down x equals. So it's just then our job to figure out, well, what is the x? So where does this cross the x-axis? At 3. So we would say that this is the equation x equals 3. Okay, now, I'm going to look at some of these over here that all fall in these categories. It's going to be your job to complete the ones that I don't do, but I'm going to look at a few of them that are unique. Okay, so if we look at this one, slope equals negative 3, and our y-intercept is 0, 2. So this y-intercept is written a little bit differently. We could plug this into point slope form. Okay, but we should recognize that a y-intercept is the same thing as saying b equals 2 and not needing that 0 there. So therefore, we know that this is y equals negative 3x plus 2. Okay. Same thing for number 4. Okay, this is our x-intercept, not our y-intercept, which means the only thing that we truly know here is a point. We cannot turn that into b, which means that's just the same thing as being told another point. So we are saying y minus it's 2/3 times x minus our x coordinate, which is 5. Okay, number 5, I'm not going to give you the answer, but just remember that slope is m, y-intercept is b, so you can still complete this the exact same way. You should be able to do the other ones up until number 10. Again, this one has labels, but don't think about this any different than what we've been doing, right? We can find our y-intercept. We just have to make sure we check our values over here. So this isn't 1. This is 5, because this would be 5, 10, 15, 20. So we know that our y-intercept is 5. And again, when we are counting our slope, we're not going up 1 over 1. We're going up 5 over 1. So this would then be y equals 5x plus 5. You need to complete the others for this to get stamped off and to have it checked off for your knowledge check and notebook check.